Hey, look who's back. You guys miss us just a little bit? Well, we're not just a football show. Our gang knows college hoops too, including who they like to cut down the nets Monday night. Beat the Odds starts right now.
From our Las Vegas studios, this is Beat the Odds, sponsored by Superbook Westgate Las Vegas.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Beat the Odds inside our Las Vegas studio. I'm Dave Hall.
And I'm Mariah Janos. This has been the zaniest March of all time. All the top seeds are out. We've seen upsets everywhere. And don't even ask about our brackets.
You know, my bracket is kind of like one of Jack's stories about dating his wife back in the day. It starts sweet and innocent and hopeful and just ends weird.
Yeah, that's kind of the perfect analogy for this.
Everything's weird. Hey, speaking of, coming up on today's show, Jack and Teddy are back. They have been studying these teams, see the trends they like, and which team is the one to beat. Who better to talk to than a man who has coached in these games? Our Mike Davis chats with Lon Kruger, the former Oklahoma, Florida, and UNLV head coach, will join us.
Plus, I'm doing what I do best. I'm heading over to the Superbook Westgate Las Vegas. I'll be back in a few minutes. Dave, over to you.
Mariah, thank you much. Back with the boys, Jack and Teddy. It's great to be back with you guys. How you been?
Very excited. You doing okay?
Yeah, we missed you, Dave.
Yeah, I missed you guys too. I know you've been spending a lot of time down in Florida on your boat.
Yeah, killing a lot of time. I've watched Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez sing Call Me Maybe probably 55 or 60 times.
Wow.
And trying to make money betting on these games. It's been really tough.
Living your best life, huh?
Trying to, yeah. A little, tan fat's always better than white fat. I mean, that's my motto of my life. So
and we're off and running, everybody.
I go with that. What's been interesting is that we always talk about parity during this tournament, but the reality is over recent history, the last 5 winners have all been number 1 seeds. You have to go back to 2016 before you get a number 2 seed in Villanova. So it's been favorites when the dust settles before this year, which now all heck's broke loose.
Well, a lot of times we'll see some big upsets the opening weekend of the tournament. Of course, Purdue went down right away, but usually by the second weekend, you know, the Blue Bloods start showing their strength, and that just didn't happen this year.
Yeah, in theory, the cream is supposed to rise to the top. And maybe not so much this year. Everybody said that the title chase was wide open in 2023, and everybody was right. This time, everybody was right. It was underdog heaven this past weekend. Favorites, and I'm calling legitimate favorites, -2.5 or higher. You know, the -2 or lower, we'll call those pick-em type games. But favorites of -2.5 or higher. Well, Connecticut went 2-0 straight up and against the spread. Everybody else combined to go 2-5 straight up, let alone against the spread. They weren't even winning those ball games. That's the favorites. The first time since the tourney expanded in 1985 that we didn't see a single number 1 seed reach the regional finals. And the first time since the tourney expanded in 1985 that we haven't seen any number 1, number 2, or number 3 seeds survive and advance to championship weekend. So it has been a unique tournament.
Yeah, after the first weekend, I mean, along with most gamblers, I think we're sitting there, I feel like somebody put a bag over my head and kicked me in the privates. I mean, I needed a break.
Wow.
I needed to lay down for a nap.
Okay.
Things have gotten easier as we've gone through, but now that we're heading into this weekend, it's kind of a reset. We have to figure out what conferences play well, which ones don't, and which ones can cover and not. So there's a challenge ahead of us, but a good opportunity to make some money.
Was the bag really needed?
You know what? Yeah, when surprise is the element that you want to go with there before the nap. Probably.
Gotcha. Well, 2 of your talking points, Teddy, was fun to watch, hard to bet, talking about the tournament.
Yes.
And truly, that's what it's been.
Yeah, this hasn't been a great betting tournament for me. You know, there's some times that I will come on, hey, we're killing it. You know, this wasn't that. But that being said, someone out there won some money this week, last week, and the week before.
Unless you're going to quit gambling, though, this is a marathon and not a sprint. So you need to be able to absorb some of these really anomalies that go on within the sports betting world.
All right, well, coming up in the next couple blocks, we're going to do a deeper dive into the games because, let's be honest, these are teams that a lot of people don't know much about. So we'll do that. Guys, hang tight till then. How many of you have any teams left in the bracket? I know I don't. Connecticut, maybe. Well, Mariah now joining us from the Superbook Westgate Las Vegas.
Thanks, Dave. I am here with Executive Director of Superbook Operations, John Murray. It is great to be back, especially at this time of year. The tournament's been crazy. What has the handle looked like here at the book?
This is the best time of year at the book. It's been awesome. First weekend was great. The regionals were really good. Looking forward to the championship weekend. A lot of it depends on the matchups. You get the big matchups with the big schools. It's great for business.
Now, we are based here in Las Vegas, Nevada, but what kind of impact has the expansion of legalized sports betting had on the books here during this time?
I think it's hurt Nevada a little bit. You know, I got some buddies. They went to Columbus, Ohio this year for the first round because they could go to some games and go to the sports books in Ohio. We have a Superbook in Ohio, Taft's Ale House in Cincinnati. And I had some friends last year that went to Colorado because you can bet in Colorado now. We also have a Superbook in Blackhawk at the Lodge Casino. It's good for Superbook. I think it might be a little bit of a negative for Nevada.
Now, here in Las Vegas, the tournament usually has strayed away in years past, but we're gearing up for 2028. It's going to be a big one. We're hosting the championship here, but can you just talk about that evolution of how it has now been embraced, the city of Las Vegas?
Well, you're being nice. They were totally opposed to sports betting, especially collegiate sports betting. They've done a complete 180. We're going to have the championship game, the championship weekend, I should say, here in 2028. We had a regional here in 2023, and a lot of other major events are coming to Las Vegas. That has been great for Nevada and great for the city.
All right, thank you so much. Dave, we'll send it back to you in studio.
All right, thanks, Mariah. So normally we might ask when will the clock strike midnight on Cinderella, but we actually have 3 Cinderellas. So Jack and Teddy are coming back with a deep dive into which Cinderella could potentially be the belle of this ball.
We've had some unbelievable wins by underdogs in this year's tournament, but when it comes to winning it all, it's actually good to be number one. Since the tournament expanded to 64 teams in 1985, 24 of the 37 national champs have been number 1 seeds. But can you guess how often all 4 number 1 seeds made it to the semifinals?
Beat the Odds is sponsored by Superbook Westgate Las Vegas.
The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Legendary. Vegas. Fun. Enjoy Westgate's classic gaming and entertainment. Savor fine dining. And experience the world's largest sportsbook, Westgate Superbook. It's all at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino.
Coming at you from Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world.
You love our show. Now you can get even more from BeatTheOddsTV.com. Betting lines, trends, and analysis of the big games.
The difference between a bad beat and a big win.
The interviews, the stories, plus a unique spin on sports history. Your ticket to in-depth content as seen on the show is all at BeatTheOddsTV.com. Check it out today.
Welcome back to Beat the Odds. Before the break, we asked, since 1985, how often have all 4 number 1 seeds made it to the semifinals? The answer is only once. 2008 saw top seeds Kansas, Memphis, North Carolina, and UCLA all make it to the semifinals. Kansas won it all in an overtime thriller over Memphis, and that was Kansas's 3rd title and head coach Bill Self's 1st.
Hey, some history was made this year, too. For the first time ever, Las Vegas hosted some tournament games. Connecticut dominated the regional here. The 2028 title game will also be back here in our city. Well, now we're back with Jack and Teddy. Normally this weekend is a who's who of college basketball, and this time it's more like a who? Who are these teams? So educate us, guys, on both Florida Atlantic and San Diego State.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're friends with Morty Seinfeld and hang out at the Del Boca Vista, most people probably don't know a lot about Boca Raton. But Florida Atlantic University is a cute little university, a small enrollment in Boca Raton. They actually host a bowl game every year. I spend a lot of time in that area. This is a team we might not should be surprised that they're here. It's a team that won 35 games. They are a team that used the transfer portal very, very well. They're covering 2 out of every 3 of their games this year and really have gone through the entire season winning and covering numbers.
And I love your talking point there. They had never won a tournament game, and here they are all the way to the last weekend.
Right, exactly. I'm actually friends with their play-by-play guy. I do a lot of radio with that area, and they are all elated to be in this spot.
Yeah.
And I think they can get it done. And I don't know that we should be questioning them. They're literally the honey badger of this entire thing. They don't care who they play. They don't care if they're down. They just keep coming back. San Diego State University, you know, we haven't had a team from the Mountain West Conference make this weekend, but this is a senior-laden team. I mean, 8 of their 9 people in the rotation are seniors. seniors. They play incredible perimeter defense, holding their opponents to shooting 18% from three-point during this tournament.
Yeah.
And they're another team. They've seen adversity, they've gotten behind before, and they figure out a way to get it done.
They look like a football team in basketball jerseys. That's kind of like how they play. They will rough you up.
They're old school for sure.
No doubt. Well, Teddy, what are you seeing?
Well, when we talk about Florida Atlantic, there's nothing fraudulent about this squad. Not at all. They've been doing this all year. They passed the eye test. When we think about winning in March, guard play, low post play, defense, half-court execution, FAU does all of that. There's nothing surprising about this team being here. And again, Jack, you mentioned a little bit earlier how good they've been against the point spread. 24-11, full season for FAU so far this year. They've been printing money for their backers. San Diego State trying to make a case for Pac-12 inclusion, a team that wants to move up in the in the college world. And of course, they have a head coach in Brian Dutcher who knows a little bit about miracle runs. He was a part of Michigan's miracle run back in 1989 when they fired Bill Frieder right before the tournament and put Steve Fisher in as the head coach.
Remember that one.
Dutcher was one of his assistants. So he's done this before. He knows something about that. And of course, San Diego State, 10 straight unders that they've cashed. Florida Atlantic, 5-2 to the under, last 7 ball games.
Yeah, don't be surprised if it's like a 12-10 game halfway through the first half, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and a low total in this game as well. So you're going to have general public wanting to go over. Everybody likes points.
All right, we'll do a deep dive into the other game coming up in the next block. First, my brackets have more red than a Stephen King horror flick. Just brutal. Let's check in with Mariah on our busted brackets and, for some of us, our busted spirits. Mariah.
Dave, keep those spirits high. It's going to get better, I promise. Now, one of the most unifying parts of the tournament every year, brackets. You can't go anywhere in March without hearing, how's your bracket looking? Where are you at? But this year, the rate at which brackets were busting seemed to be at an all-time high, with 5 major upsets coming out of the first 2 rounds. And then the upsets just kept on coming, which has ultimately led to this year's unprecedented remaining teams. Not once in the history of the tournament has there been no 1, 2, or 3 seeds in the finals. We've been hammering that all show. Now, over the last 25 tournaments, over half of all title participants have been number 1 seeds. I thought for sure that all brackets were set ablaze. There is not a single soul out there that could have possibly predicted FAU, San Diego State, Connecticut, and Miami, right? I mean, only about 1 in every 600,000 brackets predict the 4 correctly every year. But alas, some way, somehow, there are 6 brackets with these picks. And the kicker, all 6 brackets have Florida Atlantic in the final game. As for the outcomes of those brackets, 3 of the 6 remaining have Connecticut winning it all, with 2 Miami picks and 1 ride or die for Florida Atlantic. So if any of those 6 people or bots or whatever you are watching, I'm going to need you to give me a call. Talk me through this process.
I have 0. All right, thanks, Mariah. Up next, we're talking with one of our favorites. Longtime coach Lon Kruger joins us. He's coached in these games, and he knows what it takes to win. Plus, Teddy and Jack will be back breaking down the other big game, Connecticut-Miami.
The tournament is one of the biggest sporting events of the year, but it started small back in 1939. Just 8 teams made it. Now it's ballooned into a 68-team month-long event. By the way, Oregon won the first tournament in 1939, the school's only time winning it. Oh, that's sad.
The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Legendary. Vegas. Fun. Enjoy Westgate's classic gaming and entertainment. Savor fine dining. And experience the world's largest sportsbook, Westgate Superbook. It's all at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino.
Coming at you from Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world.
You love our show. Now you can get even more from BTOddsTV.com. Betting lines, trends, and analysis of the big games.
The difference between a bad beat and a big win.
The interviews, the stories, plus a unique spin on sports history. Your ticket to in-depth content as seen on the show is all at BTOddsTV.com. Check it out today.
The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Legendary. Vegas. fun. Enjoy Westgate's classic gaming and entertainment. Savor fine dining. And experience the world's largest sportsbook, Westgate Superbook. It's all at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino.
Welcome back to Beat the Odds. Let's test your tournament knowledge. Only 3 head coaches were able to take 5 different college programs to the tournament. Who are they? The answer, Lon Kruger, Tubby Smith, and Rick Pitino all accomplished this feat. Kruger was the first to do it, Tubby Smith was the second, and Rick Pitino became the 3rd head coach to do it this year. And who knows, Rick Pitino might have a chance to be the first to do it with 6 different programs with his new gig in New York.
Yeah, Mariah, here's a fun Vegas story. Did you know Pitino nearly became the head coach at UNLV? Word is the deal was done, but someone forgot to pick up his wife at the airport and it submarined the whole thing. So instead, the school hired Lon Kruger, and you know what? That turned out great. He did a great job at UNLV. Well, over his college career, Kruger has racked up 674 wins and twice led his team to the national semifinals. Our Mike Davis chats with the coach.
Welcome, guys, inside the den. I'm Mike Davis for Beat the Odds. We're here with the National Basketball Hall of Famer, the great coach, Lon Kruger. Lon, thanks so much for being with us. You know, as we're talking about the college basketball tournament, you have so much experience, over 40 years coaching. You took 5 different programs to the college basketball tournament. When we're talking about the national semifinals, what's the mindset and the mentality? How are you coaching in those games compared to the rest of the tournament?
You know, a lot of media stuff to deal with, a lot of travel stuff to deal with, getting tickets out to all the people that want them. So it's kind of a helter-skelter type of a week, and yet you got to get your guys to focus on doing the things they've done all year to get to that point.
Exactly, and that's what's so paramount to the college basketball experience, and with true coaches are true educators, right? When you think of the John Woodens and all that stuff, how do you craft that balance with ensuring that your kids, your team are remembering the moment, they're living through this experience and appreciating it, but also you want to win. So how do you craft that balance?
That's a big challenge. There's a lot of distractions with a chance to win a national championship. A lot of focus, a lot of attention around your program. The media's in there, you know, wanting their stories, which is great. You want that exposure. The kids are taking care of their families with tickets and their friends with tickets, and yet you got to pull them back in and get them to focus on having good workouts, having good practices. A lot of things going on, and you got to get them, again, centered back in and focus on playing good basketball.
Okay, so now if you're advising coaches who are prepping for this national semifinal, what's the number one piece of advice you would give to a coach who's facing this right now?
Well, they don't need my advice for sure, but you've had a great year, so you're not going to change everything. You know, you're going to focus on doing the things that you do well, doing the things that you did to get to that point, and not be thinking that you're going to craft up something new. You know, you want your guys to play with confidence, and I think you do that if they're doing what they're most familiar with.
All right, the great Lon Kruger. Coach, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
My pleasure.
Back to you.
All right, thanks to Mike and Coach Kruger. I guess one thing Coach Larinaga should continue to do with Miami is dance, because his dance moves have been going viral after all their wins this tournament.
I think he could take lessons from Lon Kruger, though. Is there a nicer guy? The guy's a national treasure.
Seriously, I covered sports here in Las Vegas for years. Just a true gentleman. Yeah. Win, loss, no matter what. Just
and
the
understood
best guy.
that sports gambling and college basketball were going to be a lot closer before his time. So great guy.
Well, let's dive into the other game, guys. Connecticut, Miami. Whoever wants to hop in, what are you guys seeing?
Sure. Well, let's talk about Connecticut right now as a number 4 seed. If you look before the tournament at the advanced metrics, the analytics, they said they weren't a 4 seed. They said they were the 4th best team in the country. After 2 weeks of tournament action, they are now considered, looking at the advanced metric statistics, as the single best team in the country. So yes, they're a 4 seed, but the advanced metrics are certainly saying otherwise. And of course, this is a season this is a team that's been streaking. They opened the season on a huge point spread streak. 11, 0-1 against the spread their first dozen ball games. And they're streaking right now again, 9-1 against the spread in their last 10. And of course, these two teams have been monsters against the point spread here in the tourney. 8-0 combined between Connecticut and Miami, but you know, we know what Jim Larinaga capable of doing.
Yeah.
He's done it before.
Jack, I was just saying, when he's talking about streaking, he doesn't mean the things you were doing in
I'm
college.
keeping it all on. I promise you the entire show.
Just
I will
wanted
tell
to
you,
make
though,
sure we're all on the same page.
when we talk about streaking, they are the definition of hot teams. These are the teams that, because they were lower seeds, you know, at some point during the year, they weren't giving you this example of what they actually are. Connecticut went through a period during their season, they were 2-9 against the spread in December into early January. So they haven't been as consistent, but getting hot at the right time, we talk about every year heading into this thing, where if you can get it going at the right time, you can make a lot of noise. Miami, on the other hand, you know, they won their conference, but then they get bounced by Duke early in that tournament. So teams that have had a little inconsistency, but boy, they are getting going at the right time.
And here in Las Vegas, we saw them firsthand and what they did to Gonzaga. I mean, good Lord, that was never even a game.
Shooting the ball incredibly well right now. Miami especially, but both these teams really, really hot from the field.
Sure, and Connecticut, when they bring their defensive intensity like they did against Gonzaga, they're a pretty tough team to solve.
Don't look now. This is going to be a really interesting weekend, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, you two absolutely crushed your pro football top picks this year. So we're going to see who they like to cut down the nets on Monday night. Plus, the wheel of keeping it real, it's back and, frankly, ruder than ever. Today, the wheel will reveal who among us had the absolute worst bracket.
Mike had a great conversation with Lon Kruger. Lon coached 35 seasons in college and 1 in the pros, which leads us to our next question for you at home. How many coaches have won a championship in both college and pro basketball? Just 1. Larry Brown is the only coach to do both. He won a pro title with Detroit in 2004 and won a college title in 1988 in Kansas. Coincidentally, it was his Kansas team that knocked Lon Kruger's Kansas State team out of the tournament. Oh, Lon.
Coming at you from Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world.
You love our show. Now you can get even more from BTOddsTV.com. Betting lines, trends, and analysis of the big games.
The difference between a bad beat and a big win.
The interviews, the stories, plus a unique spin on sports history. Your ticket to in-depth content as seen on the show is all at BTOddsTV.com. Check it out today.
The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Legendary. Vegas. Fun. Enjoy Westgate's classic gaming and entertainment. Savor fine dining. And experience the world's largest sportsbook, Westgate Superbook. It's all at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino.
All right, back on the couch, gang. Top pick time. As we said earlier, you guys crushed the pro football top picks. Let's keep it rolling. Jack, get us started.
Yeah, I think it's important to not go crazy because we didn't know a lot about these teams going into this weekend. Don't freak out and try to bet above your heads. I think that's public service now is number 1. San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, under the total. These teams both play good defense. They trend under most of the time, not only during the tournament, during the year. And you also have a San Diego State team that defends the perimeter very, very well. So it's hard to get a three-pointer off against that 18% during the tournament. Under the total during that one, I think they play Connecticut in the finals, and I lean toward Connecticut to win it all.
All right, Teddy, how about you?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that concept. You like the early game under. I like the late game under the total. Look, when you look at Connecticut, this team hasn't allowed Gonzaga, Arkansas, St. Mary's, Iona, Marquette, Providence, Villanova, or DePaul to get to 70 against them in the last 8 games. And some of those are really good offensive teams. They held Creighton to 56. They held Alabama to 67. They held Oregon to 59. This is an elite defense. I do not see Miami rolling all over this team offensively, and I'm expecting a relatively low-scoring affair. And I agree with you 100%, Jack. This is the Connecticut title. It's their title to win.
Great. Yeah, I think nothing sexy about playing under the total.
Yeah.
But that's where the money is. That's
Right.
where you go.
No doubt about it. So we talked a lot about Mariah. You talked a lot about busted brackets. Now it's time for the wheel of keeping it real. It's our 5 heads on a Vegas-style slot machine. This thing is always so mean. Today the wheel is going to reveal who among us had the worst bracket. So let's spin it and see. I think we kind of probably know where this is going. And
A 2-for-1 special for a special episode.
That's just being nice to us, though. I don't think anybody had a great bracket, so I got beat by a girl who didn't know what day it is. So.
well, Mariah, just how bad is yours?
You know, I'm better than you. I know that.
In every way, but yeah.
Okay, let's not go that far. But last time I checked, you were at the bottom of the barrel. I was like 8th. But then once UCLA lost, I went back down to where you are. So.
In a pool of 25, I'm 24th.
Yeah, that's
On that note, big thanks to watching, you guys. Good luck this weekend, and have fun.